everybody, and welcome to the Board Game Geek Show for February 8th, 2018. I am Scott Alden, also known as Aldi on Board Game Geek and Twitter. I'm joined again by my co-hosts, W. Eric Martin and Lincoln Dammers. Hi, guys.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Scott. And Lincoln. Scott.
So let's start off by going around the table and with everybody's favorite segment, what have you been playing? Eric, what have you been playing lately?
Well, in preparation for traveling to Germany to cover the Spielwarenmesse convention, I have not been playing that much recently. I've been doing some old favorites. I brought out Happy Salmon to the board game club at my son's school. Oh my God, that was just tremendous success.
Happy Salmon is such a crowd pleaser, especially with kids, I bet.
It is. It's weird. Just as a side thing, maybe we go in the news here, just interspersed news. Nick Bentley, who used to work for North Star Games, wrote an article about discovering Happy Salmon at New York Toy Fair and talks about this where he had a background in neurobiology. And he was like, Happy Salmon is an oxytocin generator. That's the hormone that generates pleasure in the brain, and usually you get it by touch and other sorts of sensations. And so Happy Salmon like generates touch and generates good feelings in this positive atmosphere that you normally couldn't get in a game. So when he played it, he's like, this thing's gold. This is like a drug in a little fish bag, which it was not at the time in a fish bag, but it's just kind of amazing. And then to see it every time I play it is like that. People initially are unsure, and then second game on, it's just explosions.
Yeah, that fish bag is key, and I think they're releasing the blue version of that, or if it's already not, or it might have already been released.
I think it is coming out soon. It'd be a blue version with 6 different colors, so you can have up to 12 players playing at once. And Kosmos is doing this too for the German version of the game. And now Kosmos has actually repackaged the game Drexel, which is like a little game with pigs, in a pig-shaped bag, because apparently you should do that too. Why not? We have little bags for every animal now that you can carry around and have a whole barnyard full of animals here. Not that we have many salmon in the barnyard, but in any case. I've been playing Stellium. It's a 2 to 4 player game in which you're trying to make certain patterns in order to score points. It's published by French publisher Ankama, which is going to release it in North America in early 2018. And each of the pieces, as you put them down on the board, has a special power. And you choose which piece you want to place each turn. So you're trying to use the different powers to pull stuff around and push it around and swap things and make all the patterns that you want to do. It was the first trial game with 2 players, and we'll see where it goes from there. And what I've been playing the most, since I haven't had much time to go out, has been Finished, which is a solitaire game by Friedemann Friese, released by 2F-Spiele, published by Stronghold in the US. It's a solitaire game in which you are just sorting. You are sorting cards, trying to get them ordered from 1 to 48. And the setting is it's a day at the office, and you just have to make it through the entire day, and you're trying to use candy. Yeah, killing time. You're using candy to take special actions in the game by placing it on the cards in front of you. And that will let you swap cards or push cards into the future, like tasks that you don't want to do at the office. And now you put out new cards in play. And then you're going to use those. Oh, I'm going to pull stuff from the past. And you can reorganize things. And as you pull out card number 1, that immediately goes into your scoring stack. And you draw a replacement, and then when you get to 2, it goes out there, but you can only loop through 7 times. And then as you get good, you can start looping through fewer and fewer times. So you start with fewer candy, and you do all this sort of thing. And it's an ingenious solitaire game that's different, it seems, from most other ones. Really, it's fantastic. And it's great for someone with poor short-term memory, because then it's more gambling than actually just remembering and trying to put everything up. I don't remember where things are, so I just take action. I think this is right, and see what happens.
I remember when he was developing that game, he called it Bubble Sort, the board game, or the card game.
Yeah.
Which bubble sorting is a computer science term used for sorting objects. It's bubble sort.
There you go. It's great to see him draw inspiration from all these different sources and just transform things into games. All right. It's very cool to see. Lincoln, you want to talk about what you've been playing?
Well, I'm in the same boat you are. I've only played 2 games this week in preparations for Nuremberg. we played finally getting access to Micropolis, the game from Matagot. We have a early copy. It's from Bruno Cathala and Charles Chevalier. And it's the anthill game that we've been talking about for a long time. It was originally called Colony. And it is just a great game. I am really looking forward to it coming out in the States. I think it's still a couple months away. And we also played Kerala, The Way of the Elephant, which is spectacular. It's Kirsten Hiese from and Kosmos. Really, really fun game where it's a tile laying game, which is Nikki's favorite. And it's gorgeous, and you're trying to you have 2 elephants that you can use to navigate your tiles to try to place specific colors. You're trying to group, you have the largest, you can't have more than, you can only have 2 fields of your color, and you can only have 1 field of every other color that you collect. And it's really difficult but spectacular. Really, really great game, and nobody really talked about it, but it's really great. Scott, what'd you play?
So I threatened to go back to Kingdom Death Monster, and I did. So last weekend we started a new settlement. So in that game you start a settlement of survivors, and you try to just survive and make it through the story. Meanwhile being hunted, and you're hunting huge, terrifying monsters. And then as I said, you're also being hunted by other terrifying, nightmarish type things in that game that come and like ambush you. So we started off on a very bad note. Our the first thing you do in that game is you fight a huge lion, and we lost 3 of the 4 survivors. So only 1 survivor made it back to the settlement.
Wow!
Started the settlement, and then we immediately proceeded to wipe 8 more survivors in a row. So 4, you go out in a pack of 4. They all died. We regrouped. They all died. But then we had so we almost, you can basically just lose the game. But you do get to restart with some bonuses. So that wouldn't have been the end of the world. But we persevered and made it through to the next year and actually beat one of the lions. And if you beat a lion, you get to take his booty, I guess, is like he drops a bunch of things like claws and bone organs, and you harvest these things and you build more gear. So we got to build bone clubs and bone darts out of this gear that we had harvested from the lion. And there's a couple more exciting things that have happened, but I don't want to spoil it because the game is so amazing. If you ever get a chance to play it, you should try, because it's got some very brilliant things for game design where you get to build your settlement, and it's sort of like a civilization game combined with a tactical minis game. So you have this tactical battle part, and then you take all the stuff that you recovered from the battle and you build your settlement. You get to build more buildings, you get to try to have more babies, you get to try to develop new kinds of weapons and armor, and it's engrossing me again. So we're going to try to get some more gaming in this weekend and at least try to make it through a full year of that, or a full campaign, because it's kind of a long game, but we're back into it, and all the guys are new. All the other guys are new into the game, so they're loving it.
So are you just jumping into a different scenario each time, or is there one continuous story, or how does it work? Do you have new people and you start?
You start off with 4 people, with very basic armaments. You get 1 weapon and 1 piece of armor. Your cloth waistband. And then you fight a lion. Like, that's just standard. Every game starts with you fighting a lion. If you all die, you just start over. Like, you get wiped, you start over. If you survive, you take those survivors with whatever you gain from the lion, and you start building a settlement. You immediately find other survivors. So it'll say something like, you found 8 survivors, and they're unnamed until you name them, right? They're just people, and you don't know the sex either. So when you create when you bring one, what do we call it? We call it promoting a peon to fight. You name them and you give them a sex. You assign their sex. And then that character becomes part of the campaign that gives you your stories. There is predetermined storyline, so it sort of happens the same way, but the outcomes are different, right? Like, you can lose or win. And you also get some choices on how you want to build your settlement. Don't want to say anything, because those choices kind of blew me away with some of the ideas that he had in the choices you had to make. But it's pretty much a predetermined storyline. Okay. About a third away into the game, you get to decide what you want to hunt. At the beginning, you can only hunt lions, and then as you gain knowledge about more of the monsters in the world, you can decide to hunt them too. And they provide different resources.
Man, totally not my style of game. It's funny you say when you get a chance.
It's definitely not an Eric Martin game.
No, it is not. But my son is playing Breath of the Wild now, and you describing this is very much like I hear, the same campaign things where you start in this limited area and you don't know anyone, and you're getting parts, scavenging parts of all the people, and it's that video game in the board game from the sound of it.
It takes a lot from role-playing games and RPGs and Civ building games and those kind of adventure games. So it's kind of a mishmash of all that in one. And I haven't seen it all. Like I have not seen a third. I mean, I've probably seen about a third of it, maybe a little bit more than a third.
Well, you haven't even received it all, right? It's being shipped through.
I know. Yeah. So the base campaign game comes in a gigantic black box, and that will give you tons of game. Like that is one full campaign. Then there are other monsters that you can add into the game. Either they have their own campaign as a standalone thing, or they add into the game as part of your quarry. Like when you're going to go hunt something, you can hunt a blah, whatever, a dragon, something like that.
Right.
And that I haven't even opened those boxes. So I'm still with the basic Kingdom Death Monster base box.
All right, with years to go.
Like we said before, there's so many games that are of this nature. Gloomhaven, Kingdom Death Monster, Charterstone, Pandemic Legacy 2.
Yeah, those don't seem as deep as Gloomhaven and Kingdom Death Monster, man. Those are insane.
The depth on those is definitely a little bit slimmer. So, yeah. And it's a different type of gaming feeling. Like, when we played it, we started about noon on Saturday and we finished about 2 a.m.
Oof.
So 14 hours of Kingdom Death Monster.
Wow.
Of course, the first hour was us remembering the rules. But once we got into the game, once you get into the cycle of the game, it actually flows pretty smooth.
Right. Speaking of game news, at the time that this video is published, not now, Lincoln and I will have just returned from Nuremberg, Germany. We'll have attended the Spielwarenmesse trade fair, recorded overviews of probably 90 games or so based on past experience. And we'll start publishing those videos as soon as we can. But now when we're recording this, we only have announcements of things. So we have stuff like eggertspiele announcing Great Western Trail Rails to the North. And that was it. There was a title. There's absolutely nothing else right now at the time we're recording this. And so you just get this little teaser of what's coming.
Have they announced that it's an expansion?
They announced that it's an expansion. That's it. Yeah. And they didn't even really announce that. Pegasus announced that because that's their German publishing partner. And the name was included in a list of titles with zero other information. And eggertspiele was like, we're actually announcing that end of January. So Pegasus kind of spoiled it a little early. But they didn't really spoil much. This is more just like whetting people's appetite just for what's coming. We know it's here. What is it? And we speculate like crazy. Gamewright had a teaser video for Forbidden Sky, a new cooperative game from Matt Leacock that follows in the Forbidden Island and Forbidden Desert series. Well, you can imagine Forbidden Sky. Well, you know something is going to be up here, and that will probably be you in the sky.
That teaser revealed no information whatsoever.
No, that teaser revealed nothing except that the game is coming and it's related somehow to the sky. I don't know. I played a prototype maybe 14 months ago, but of course I don't know what the finished game is like. I won't even say anything about it. The promise of it was very cool, and I don't know. We'll see what comes. We'll learn more, hopefully, by New York Toy Fair, and it's due out Q3 2018. And you have some things that have slightly more information. Ravensburger, again, something I'll probably see more at New York Toy Fair, which I'm going to after the publication of this video. And they've announced Jurassic Park Danger Adventure Strategy Game, which is based on the first Jurassic Park movie, in which one player plays the dinosaurs and is trying to eat everyone else while everyone else is trying to fix the park and make it work and then leave the island before they die. And it's kind of funny to think this movie is 25 years old? And yet I tweeted this thing and people are just like, yes, that sounds awesome. This is what I want. I can't believe this. And so huge wave of excitement for people. just on this little bit of information.
The love of Jurassic Park runs deep.
Yeah.
Also interesting to know, I checked the entry on BGG. Friend of the show, friend of BGG, Chris Rollins basically posted up saying, finally I can talk about this game. He'd been working on it as a game developer at Forrest-Pruzan, so there's no actual designer credit listed. It's just Forrest-Pruzan Creative.
So yeah, Forrest-Pruzan always designs as a team. They have many more mainstream. They had a lot of mainstream designs, and now they're getting more into the hobby market. Hurricane, Swiss publisher Hurricane is publishing one of their designs. They had a number of Target exclusive titles published in 2017. And now they've got this coming from Ravensburger, due out in May 2018.
In not so much fun news, Counter magazine has announced from its editor, Greg Schlosser, that they're shutting down the publication after 20 years of print runs, of quarterlies. I believe the issue 78 is the final issue, and Greg had taken over the editing work of the magazine 5 years ago, and basically put a very heartfelt editorial in the latest issue about why they're shutting down. The summary was basically it was just too much work for what they got out of it. It was taking Greg dozens, if not hundreds of hours each quarter to do putting together the assembly of the magazine, and basically only selling 300 copies. They only recently switched over to being a electronic publication, which opened up a lot of new kind of publishing techniques. They could put color into the magazine. They could exceed their 82 I think page limit by printing, and so they got to do a lot more features. And I just paged through the latest issue, and it brings back a lot of memories. I started reading Counter when it was in print, when there really wasn't a lot of information about board games, and that was kind of from a different era, right? Now we're in this information age where news and reviews are published within an hour of a game coming out. So it's a little bit hard for a print magazine on a quarterly, and well, now it's electronic, but still hard to compete with the information age that we're living in.
Well, of course, we have lots of reviews and previews that are published months before a game is even released, thanks to Kickstarter. A game is announced on Kickstarter, and it's instantly like there's 6 videos already reviewing this non-existent thing. So, yeah, it's very different from before, where it was 6 months after a game was released, and then you'll read all about it in Counter in this awesome, lengthy article just detailing everything. Yeah, it was a very different era.
One of the things Counter really prided itself in was the quality of the writing, and like I said, it's some of the best writers in the industry. Most of them write for blogs and write reviews still online, but it was just a great kind of founding fathers of the board game world. I believe the magazine was started by Stuart Dagger, and Alan Howe also contributed heavily to that. And Stuart Dagger was the editor up till Greg took over just recently. So we bid adieu to Counter Magazine. Hopefully those guys are still enjoying gaming. I know they are, but maybe they can start working on something else or put their energies into another project.
It's sad to see that kind of in-depth writing go, too, because most reviews are not that thought out. I know that the opinionated gamers do like to put the time in to play the game a few times before they write, and I know Eric's likes to do that as well, but there's just not that level of writing anymore, and I don't think most people even have the attention span for it, which is too bad.
Yeah, the reviews definitely were some of the most in-depth things you can find out there, and many of those guys and women who wrote played the game dozens of times, right? They really wanted to get every ounce of game out of the game, which is totally not happening these days, right? You can tell. Like, a lot of reviews are slapshod. They even sometimes mention errors of the game, and we ourselves are also guilty of that we quickly move on to the next game and to see what's coming next, and kind of don't spend the time. Well, maybe Eric Martin, he's not guilty of that. He spends the time. But it's I envy Eric's perseverance to play the same game more than twice, maybe 3 times, 5 times, 6 times, 10 times. So, and that's kind of lost these days from the review community.
Well, nothing is absorbed anymore. It's mostly just a reaction. I mean, our game night is not a review show. We are just reacting to what we just played. There might be some times we've played it a few times, but it's not common, and it's too bad, you know. Obviously, as you've become a better player and you play more, you can make a pretty good judgment of stuff, but it's still not the same as playing the game a bunch of times, because you find things in the game that you don't necessarily catch the first time through.
I would disagree that you could even, I mean, you and I and Scott, we've all played tons of games. I mean, I've been writing about games now for 11 years full time, and I don't know how many games I've played, plus what's before that. And yet still, I know I will play a game the first time and be like, I don't really know about that. And then you play again. Like first, I always talk about this. First time you play is from ignorance. You know nothing.
Absolutely.
And the second time, and after that, you're playing from a field of knowledge, and you're like, you change the way you play to meet the game in the middle, kind of, instead of trying to force the game to be a certain way. And yeah, you have to play multiple times to sort of mold yourself to the right way the game works. You know, and maybe it's not your taste, but...
Absolutely, that's what I mean. I'm saying we can make an educated statement about the game, but it doesn't mean we really know the game. It takes multiple plays to actually get into it. No matter what. I think people are too quick to dismiss games. Because
it doesn't offer an immediate buzz, or it doesn't reveal all its secrets, I guess, in one play.
There's a hive mind about things with that stuff too, that people get worked up about specific stuff and they don't, you know, I'm just as guilty. You know, you get excited about one thing and a lot of things slip underneath the radar. The last episode we mentioned Ikwazu and what was the one that you mentioned? That was a game that was, you know, that nobody spoke about after Essen.
Oh, Pioneers?
Yeah. It's sad.
You mentioned Kerala as well, that you just mentioned earlier. I played that last year on the German edition. I thought it was a great little tile game, and just no one ever talked about it. It just disappeared.
I think it was on the recommended, wasn't it?
I would say it disappeared in terms of the mind awareness, but of course, that's on the geek level.
Right.
Like, it still is on the mainstream German market, and it could sell to people there, and it's on the mainstream U.S. market now with Thames and Kosmos, but you know, it's not something people talk about. It just existed.
Right.
I don't know if maybe we move from there to other bad news. After Counter, we talk about Toys R Us now closing 1/5 of its stores, 182 stores, because they are $5 billion in debt.
Wow.
Possibly due to a leveraged buyout a few years back. And so investors want their money back. And so part of efforts to relieve the debt is to close roughly 1/5 of their stores. And I guess just have a huge fire sale. We'll see.
In the New York Times article I read about the shutdowns, aside from accruing $5 billion in debt, apparently that's a common tactic of private-owned equity retailers, is they take on a lot of debt just so they can discharge it from bankruptcy. Also mentioned in the article that a lot of the executives are getting paid bonuses for hitting certain milestones at Christmas time, which I thought was kind of a strange kind of world we're living in, where you make a $20 million bonus because you hit some sort of target. I don't know. Also, the lawyers are quoted as charging about $1,475 an hour to work on this bankruptcy. So wow. Lots of money in this Toys R Us deal. I'm a fan of Toys R Us. I always liked going to Toys R Us, and I enjoy their products and the products they bring to market and retail. So hopefully they can turn it around. But if not, I think it's just another sign of the times of the online retailer is definitely taking over, and the brick and mortar stores with their rent and their overhead and their employees and their all of that put together cannot compete with the likes of Amazon, which has streamlined that online ordering system to getting your toys within 1 to 2 days.
That's right. Or same day.
Or same day.
With our Amazon drones that are going to come and just drop off our new stuff.
So while Toys R Us is losing a lot of money in the toy and game industry, other companies are making lots of money. A recent project on Kickstarter caught my eye called UBOOT, or U-Boat. in English. It is a simulation of a submarine warfare game, which they say they're the first on the video, but they aren't. Obviously, there's been some other submarine games out there. But it may be the first that integrates a app. So you get to scan the horizon from your binocular view on the app, which is pretty cool. I hadn't seen that before. And it also comes with a 3-dimensional submarine. They've already reached over $600,000 in funding and tons of backers. It was a very cool project. We saw it in Germany last year when we were in Essen. It was just sitting on the table, and there was just this mob of people standing around it. And it's super attractive. Very, very tiny detailed miniatures, and as I said, a 3-dimensional submarine that you get to move around on. Looks like it's going to be a Kickstarter sweetheart.
The only thing that bothers me about that, and a lot of those games that use the app, I mean, obviously Fantasy Flight sticks around, and they probably will keep supporting for a while. But the game I wonder how playable it is once the app is, no longer usable. Obviously, we a big shift from 32 to 64-bit with a lot of the Apple apps that no longer work. But what are you going to do for something like that? I don't know how huge that publisher is. I don't know how much effort they can continue to put into keeping that app active. So that's kind of a downer.
Well, as we talked about earlier, people don't play games that much anyway. You'll
true.
play it a few times. You'll put it on your shelf. You may worry about it, and then you'll just forget about the game. So problem solved.
I guess so.
I guess. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, there's lots of people who complain about how maybe it's just the noise from the marketplace, or we have the one avenue of people who play games once and twice, and some of us complain about that, and the other ones are looking long term at, I want to be able to play this game in 10 years, and other people are like, forget that. I just want to play this right now. So it's like our competing hands. I don't know what that means.
It definitely could pose a problem if they don't make a universal app or something that can be run like on a website, which typically those usually never go out of service, but you never know.
Other sort of Kickstarter news, little odd thing happened with CMON Limited's Rising Sun, which is just starting to reach backers from the Kickstarter project run in the first part of 2017. People started looking at the mythology of the various monsters included in the game, and there was one that stood out for people, Kotahi, which apparently did not exist. And people said, where did this come from? And they look up the name, they're trying to research the name, and it seems that somewhere in the history of the game, people referenced Wikipedia for background on Japanese mythology and picked up Kotahi as being a certain god. But in fact, that Wikipedia entry was created as a joke for a New Zealand resident whose name is Kotahi Manawa Bradford, and his friends created it as a joke. And he has now been immortalized in the game, and apparently we need to look into a little bit more to see what happened here. This is a Kickstarter exclusive item, so if you're looking for it at retail, you will not find it there. But maybe at a convention, you can go pick up this odd figure and then fly to New Zealand and have Kotahi sign it for you.
He's forever immortalized in the game as I think it's a monkey god, or a monkey, some kind of monkey monster.
Yes, that sounds right.
And I think the story was his friends were trolling him, and they created that fake Wikipedia entry because he was getting angry. Like he's a rageful god of monkey proportions, I guess. And they put that Kickstarter, they put that in the Wikipedia just to kind of troll him one night. And I think it stayed for a while, I guess, until it got picked up. I mean, this is alleged, right? Like we don't know where CMON got the information from, but it kind of looks like it was Wikipedia.
Yeah. It's weird. I mean, it's funny. I remember news reports years ago talking about Wikipedia's accuracy compared to Encyclopedia Britannica, and essentially they were on par. And then, of course, once you point out the errors in Wikipedia, you can go fix them. And it'll actually be better than the encyclopedia, which is printed and done. But it's still not perfect. So little problem sneaks through there.
Anyway, a harmless thing that's kind of amusing in the board game world. We need some levity every once in a while.
Some levity might be needed, especially when we talk about what's been going on with BGG itself.
Right. In the last episode, I mentioned that we were receiving historically high levels of traffic from visitors, reaching BoardGameGeek. However, since then, we've been reaching even higher levels of traffic, not due to people visiting, but to a botnet. Recently, the site was made inaccessible by this botnet, and Daniel and I spent probably 5 days researching why. Finally, we uncovered that it was indeed a botnet maliciously attacking us, basically trying to take us down. I posted up a summary of what happened on the site, so check the front page for that. And we were also contacted by the FBI, who they caught news of that, and we're working with them to try to track down the perpetrators. But as with internet things, you never know. It's so easy to hide your tracks, and we're just hoping to stay away from the botnets in the future. We're undertaking methods and looking at solutions to prevent those problems in the future.
Scott, how large was that attack?
The number of IP addresses that I started tracking was in the 300,000 unique range. So
wow,
that's a lot of bots. And that was only when I started tracking it. It could be larger than that. And that rivals, if it's truly a botnet, which we believe it to be, rivals some of the largest tracked botnets in the world, like the Mirai, which was the one that was used to stop the guys from playing Minecraft or something like that. I don't know all the details of that Mirai botnet, but if you search it, you can get the story. And I believe the two perpetrators for that were sentenced to jail. So these are serious things. The Internet of Things combined with the ease of being able to target and take down websites, definitely a problem in the future age of the internet. So we have to adjust. It's a new milestone for BGG, so we get to mark a feather in our cap.
Yeah, feather we don't want.
This is the feather I'll just put it in my back pocket. Anyway, we're memorializing the event with a badge, micro badge, so you can go check that out. Check out the thread on the page where I said BGG's attacked by botnet. Should be able to find out the details.
That's great.
Aside from the bot attacks, we also have better news with game night. Lincoln, maybe you can give us what's coming up next.
We just released Pioneers with Ambi and Toby guesting on that one, which was great. And then the next episode is going to be Micropolis that Dave and Rusty played with us on. And I'm excited for everybody to see that game because we've been excited about it for over a year and a half now.
What? You've known about the game that long?
We played the prototype with Bruno Cathala at BGG Con 2016.
Oh, okay.
Nikki loves it, and I think she wins a lot. She won at Essen when you guys played it at the SDJ dinner, which was fun. I didn't get to play because it's too many players.
So thank you everybody for watching this episode of the Board Game Geek Show. We really appreciate your feedback and comments that you've been giving us. And if you like this video, give us a thumbs up or please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you, Lincoln.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Eric, for hosting.
Thank you. Good to be here.
And we're going to close out the show with some footage we shot at the Spielwarenmesse 2018 in Nuremberg, Germany. Bye.
We're here in Nuremberg, Germany at Spielwarenmesse 2018. This is day 4 of the fair, day 3 of us being here.
Shooting all day long.
We have finished, we think.
Yes.
Hopefully. Yeah, hopefully. Saturday is almost over. We have maybe 20 minutes left. So do a little overview. Lincoln, this is your first time here. What's your impression?
Pretty insane. It's a lot of floors and a lot of space, and you've only shown me like 4 of the halls,
right.
And I peeked in as we're going, lots of stuff, and it's crazy how much stuff is here, and so many toy brands and so many board game brands. Like there's things I've never ever seen in here, and there's a lot of there's a lot of stuff though, a lot of new stuff for us too that we were seeing just walking around and happening upon these new games. It's pretty great.
Right. I mean, I scheduled I scheduled interviews with a lot of publishers who we've met before. Some of them did not respond. We find them here and try to track them down and make sure we have time for them. We do not have time for everything. I know I've taken pictures of things that we have not recorded videos of. Sorry.
Yeah, I now understand Eric's. I'll have seen something and I'm like, why didn't they cover that at Nuremberg? And now I understand why. It's really, really hard. There's We barely had any time, and I'm standing a lot. So I've learned John's technique, who helped Eric in the past years, of sitting down whenever you can. And also I started taking water whenever they offered it, because I'm super dehydrated. It's crazy how hard it is. It's a lot of work, but it's really fun. It's really neat.
I think today is maybe. Well, no, I'm saying maybe today. I think we had a 15-minute break.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
that was great.
A 10-minute break.
Yeah. We actually sat down and ate something, and it was
pretty much it.
But it was a lot of standing. We did several booths where it was a lot of just standing and standing and standing. You guys got to sit down a lot, and I got to stand the whole time. Oof. I think I finally sat down like at the very end.
That's right.
Couldn't take it anymore. But it's really, really a neat show, and a lot of it's good for us because we met a lot of great people and re-engaged with some people that we've met before and had a chance to talk to. It's really, really a great experience.
Maybe new projects spawned. We'll have to see about that.
It's a busy show, but it's not, right? That's the interesting thing.
Yes, the halls are empty, and it often appears like nothing is being done. But of course, a lot of these publishers are meeting with distributors and retailers and something, and so they'll be like, hey, we had an order for 1,000 copies of something from this 10-minute meeting.
Right.
And that's how business does. I was talking with someone else, Christoph from Rebel, and they were saying, yeah, we used to come here, we'd drive with a truck from Poland, we would back up to a truck from Heidelberger, and we just throw the goods in the back of the Heidelberger truck.
Between the two trucks, and
then leave.
Yeah.
That was it. They just did a round trip to Poland from
12-hour trip, I think, each way maybe or something like that. That's crazy.
Right. So it's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. There's cafes and little meeting points and waiting rooms and side areas.
So Eric was like, we'll go to the mezzanine and there's all these tables there and we'll shoot. So the first day we're there, we go and shoot a couple things. The next day we come, all the tables are gone. And so then we're desperate to find a table that we could put a game on. And that was a challenge yesterday. Today was a little bit easier. It was lighter. The trains were still crazy this morning, but being here it felt a little bit lighter.
Yes.
Because it's populated by all these the booths that are staffed here. There's just supposedly thousands and thousands and thousands of people just working the booths here. It's an interesting show.
Yes.
Very different.
And then a lot of people without booths who are just still meeting people anyway. Designers going around showing prototypes. Small publishers who don't have booths but are still meeting designers.
Yep.
And all these side
and then
locations.
we would run into them and like, hey, let's meet, and we met with Philip Malinsky. He ran into us and he's working with another company now and he wanted to show us a game and we'll meet you here. And we were 15 minutes late and I'm like, let's just go and see if he's there. And thankfully he was still sitting there waiting for us and was able to show us his game, which is great.
We saw Rainer Knizia, 4 times just in passing.
Had conversations with him.
We did not get him on camera this year.
Yeah.
We did not schedule something.
We did not have time.
Sorry, Rainer. But continually, just people from different U.S. companies going around.
Yep. So. It's amazing. You do bump into people. I was commenting on how many times I ran into Henning.
Yes.
And, I mean,
from 2F Spiele.
Yeah, you see them, but to me it's still shocking because it's a lot of space, and he doesn't have that many partners that he's got to meet with, but we kept running into him, which was great because we were having dinner with him last night, so that was cool.
That's right. Doing business as well. He was signing deals on steps, showing future artwork and
snack lunch.
And it's like casual, but business casual, I guess. I don't know if you say that.
And it's these huge, they're trying to impress retailers, so they have these magnificent, gigantic booths that, and they have lots of stuff to give, ply you with candies and drinks, wine and everything else if you would like it.
That's right. But every day at 6,
we benefit
the wine
from
comes
the retailers
out.
Being here is what the reality is.
Maybe so. That's it.
Okay.
I guess we're done with Germany. I will be at New York Toy Fair for a day. Lincoln and I will be at the Cannes Festival. Game Festival, live streaming from there.
We're going to live stream. We'll probably do another little wrap up like this for our new show, and we'll see you then.
Hopefully sitting down.
Take care.